You're standing in the back room of a saloon that still smells like gun oil and whiskey. The walls are thin, so thin you can hear the cattle bawling on the main road and the clang of rail spikes being driven into fresh timber ties. And above it all, laughter. Men's voices betting on cards, women calling drinks, boots scraping old pine. But in here, it's quiet, too quiet for a wedding. The mirror in front of you is cracked through the middle, a thin lightning bolt splitting your reflection in two. You don't recognize either side. The dress is white lace, finer than anything you've ever worn, but it doesn't feel like yours. The bodice doesn't quite fit. The hem's been hurriedly taken up, and the sleeves smell faintly of lavender. Not the kind you grow out west, too sweet, too Eastern. It reeks of another woman's fear. You touch the edge of the veil. It slips through your fingers like someone else's goodbye. Outside the door, boots stomp. A bottle crashes. Someone shouts, "Where's the preacher?" And laughter follows. You should feel excitement, or at least dread, but all you feel is cold, not the kind from weather, but the kind that starts in the spine, when you know something's already too far gone to stop. You glance at the corner of the room where your old satchel rests beside a dusty broom, tied shut with twine. Inside it, a comb carved from mesquite, a worn locket with no photograph, and a single piece of paper, a letter from the man you're supposed to marry. It's written in blocky script, like someone imitating education. The letter said he wanted a strong woman, someone who could cook and keep quiet. Said he'd seen you once in town, never told you when. The knock comes. Sharp. 3 raps. "Time," a voice says. You don't know whose. You rise because there's nothing else to do. The boots they gave you are too tight. The dress digs into your ribs, but you walk anyway past the crate stacked with dusty glass bottles, past a trunk labeled Pickett's Reserve, into the long hallway that leads to the bar. And that's when you hear it, the preacher's voice. "In the name of the territory, I pronounce." You stop. The name that follows is not yours. Margaret Sinclair. Your hand slides to the small of your back, where your real name used to rest like a spine. Elena Vasquez, the name your mother whispered when you were fevered as a child. The one the rancher told you not to use anymore. They've changed it. On the license, on the record, on the truth. You step into the saloon, heads turn. The groom stands with a crooked smile and a coin purse in his hand. The preacher doesn't look up. He reads from a page that shines faintly with fresh ink. You know then. You weren't asked to marry, you were bought, and behind the groom at the far end of the saloon, a man in a dusty cavalry coat leans against the pauo. His face is half in shadow, but you feel the weight of his stare like a stone dropped in a still pond. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't blink, and in his hand is a gold coin. The preacher doesn't pause, doesn't stutter. Margaret Sinclair, lawful bride of Mr. Alton Pike. His voice is steady, too steady. You don't remember stepping forward, but now you're beside him. The groom. His breath reeks of rye whiskey and chewing tobacco. His fingers graze yours, clammy, eager. There's no ceremony in it, just a transaction. Your eyes fall to the license in the preacher's hand. The script curls neat and artificial, as if someone had written your name by memory, but not your real name. Elena Vasquez is gone. You whisper, "That's not mine." But no one hears. The preacher drones on. Alton's grip tightens. The saloon is watching. Everyone knows your name now, and it's not yours. It belongs to a woman you've never met, a name they picked because it sounded easier, whiter. "Sign here," the preacher says, pointing to the bottom of the parchment. Alton nudges you, impatient. "Let's get on with it." You glance again. Not just the name. The birth date is wrong. The county is wrong. The father's name? Thomas Sinclair. Fiction layered over fact like mud over gold. Your hand trembles. The quill scrapes the page. Then you sign. Because you need to know how far they've gone. Because you need a copy. Because something cold and ancient tells you, this paper may be the only way to prove anything someday. When it's done, Alton claps you on the back. The crowd hoots and laughs. Someone tosses a coin that clinks off the floor. "First dance is on me," a man hollers. "And the next round, too." You try to breathe, but you can't. Not with Alton's arm crushing your waist, not with the stink of his jacket or the applause ringing hollow around you. Then, a voice. Not loud, not rushed, but heavy like a bell tolling. That name doesn't belong to her. Silence falls. You turn. The man in the cavalry coat steps forward, boots echoing on the saloon floor. His face is tanned deep by sun and wind. Long black hair touches his shoulders. His eyes don't blink, don't waver. He tosses something onto the bar, a coin purse. It hits the wood with a sound too final to ignore. 500 in gold, he says. Murmurs ripple. The barkeep stares. Even the preacher pales. "For the release of Elena Vasquez," the man adds. He says your name right. Not mangled, not ashamed. Elena. Like your mother used to say it. Alton lunges forward, but two men grab him. Men who just moments ago cheered him on. Now they back away, slow, sensing something they hadn't before. The man in the coat doesn't reach for a weapon, doesn't raise his voice. He simply steps between you and the groom. "This wedding's over," you speak for the first time since you signed. "Who are you?" He pulls something from inside his coat, a small brass locket, cracked along the hinge. He opens it, turns it to face you. Inside, a woman's photograph, faded, sepia-toned. She looks like you, but older, sadder. Her eyes, your eyes, are the same. "Your mother," he says. "You can't speak, you can't move. Because somehow, you know it's true." Then he takes the marriage license from the preacher's hand. Nobody stops him, not even Alton, who's gone deathly still. The man strikes a match and watches the flame curl the page into blackened ash. "You were never Margaret Sinclair." And just like that, you begin to exist again. You ride in silence. The dust curls behind you in long looping ghosts. The town falls away like a mirage, one that never really wanted you, never truly saw you. The cavalry coat on his back is worn. It seems pulled thin. You can see the holes where bullets passed through once, maybe twice. They're clean now, but you can tell. Some wounds never were. His horse is older, paint-colored, and scar-kneed. Yours is the mare you borrowed to get here. It stumbles sometimes, unused to travel this far without stopping. He notices. "We'll rest at the stream," he says, not looking back. You don't answer. Not yet. Not until you know what part of this is real. At the water's edge, he lets the horses drink first. Then he opens his coat again, slowly, without threat, and hands you something wrapped in oilskin. It's a letter, faded, torn at the edges, the paper thin as breath. Your hands tremble when you unfold it. To whoever finds her. Her name is Elena Vasquez. She was born in the summer of 1858. She is mine. The signature is shaky, but you know the name. Elena Vasquez, your mother. You sit down on a smooth rock, the letter in your lap. Your knees feel hollow, like they've forgotten how to carry you. You knew her, you ask, voice rough from silence. He nods. She saved my life, nursed me through winter in the Guadalupe hills after I deserted the war. You look at him now, not the coat, not the stance, but his face, the kind of tired that goes deeper than muscle, the kind that lives behind the eyes. I was wearing blue then, he says. Didn't know if I was north or south anymore. Only thing I knew was I'd killed enough. He pauses. And she didn't ask, just boiled water, set my shoulder, fed me tamales, and made me swear I'd tell her daughter who she was, if it came to that. You stare at the letter. She said she was going back for someone, he murmurs. Never came back. You swallow hard. And the rancher, the man who raised me? He bought you from Comancheros. They'd taken you in a raid, but they didn't know your name. He renamed you, claimed you as his, used your labor, your face, your silence. He kneels now, not close, just enough for his voice to drop. I came looking when I heard the name Margaret Sinclair in a marriage listing tied to the railroad registry. I figured only someone hiding a real name would use one that fancy. You laugh once, sharp, bitter. It feels strange after all this time. I didn't know I was hiding, you say. Most don't, he answers. The fire he starts is small. Just mesquite and dry grass, enough to boil a tin of water. He hands you coffee, real, not burned, not stretched with chicory, and sits back, giving you space. Finally you ask, "What's your name?" He hesitates, then answers, "Captain James Whitmore," he says first. Then, quiet, like the truth he's tired of outrunning, "Walking Bear." You nod. It's the only name that feels honest tonight. You ride until the town becomes a smudge behind the hills, until even the railroad tracks vanish under thickets of mesquite. Neither of you speaks. The only sound is the slow rhythm of hooves, the creak of leather, the occasional call of a hawk drifting overhead. Then he says it. "Your mother sent me." The words fall so simply, they almost don't land. But when they do, something buckles in your chest. You glance at him, this man who calls himself Walking Bear, who wears another man's coat and carries silence like a second weapon. He reaches inside his saddlebag, pulls out a locket, small and brass, its hinge worn smooth. You already know what's inside. Still, your breath catches when he opens it again. Same photo. Same woman, with your eyes and long dark hair tied back with a strip of linen. But this time, he turns the locket over. Scratched into the back. Faint but readable. "Para mi Elena con mi alma." You reach for it, slow. When your fingers touch the metal, it's still warm from his skin. "She gave it to me before I left," he says. "Told me to find you if she didn't return." A gust of wind sweeps through the canyon as if the name itself stirred something watching. You sit still for a long while. Then you finally ask, "Where are we going?" He points ahead to a thin line of black on the horizon. "Home," he says, "the place your family built, or what's left of it." Your pulse jumps. "I don't remember any home," you admit. "You were two," he replies. The creek beside you runs shallow now, choked with reeds, but he stops there, dismounts, unrolls a worn bedroll, lays it down beside the fire he builds with practiced ease. And from his coat he pulls the marriage license. It's still half scorched from earlier, but the ink remains. Do you want this? He asks. You stare at the paper that nearly sealed your fate, nearly erased your name forever. No. He tosses it into the fire. You watch it curl, blacken, and vanish. For the first time in days, you exhale without shaking. He doesn't speak again that night, doesn't touch you, doesn't come closer than the firelight's edge. You sleep with the locket pressed to your chest, and in the dark, beneath the stars, you whisper your name again, not like a question, not like a memory, but like a promise. Elena Vasquez. The next morning, the wind shifts. You wake before dawn, cold pressing through your blanket, the locket a dull weight at your throat. Across the fire, Walking Bear already has the coffee on. His eyes scan the horizon like they never stop moving through the night. We're close, he says. You ride out in silence again until the ridgeline bends, and he finally speaks, not just to inform, but to reveal. The man who claimed to be your father. You feel your stomach tighten. That man, gruff, red-faced, always smelling of cattle and sweat, the one who locked you inside for days if you mouthed off, who told everyone you were just a stray girl with no mother to spoil you. He bought you 15 years ago from Comancheros passing through Blanco Mesa. You stop your horse. Just stop. The wind gusts. Your breath fogs in the cool morning. I was sold. He doesn't answer right away. They called it rescue. Said they saved you from worse. Your fists clench around the reins. And then what? Raised me out of pity? No, his voice flattens. He raised you because he owed a man north of Santa Fe $2,000 in gambling debt. He needed collateral, something he could promise. You feel the nausea bloom behind your ribs. He gambled me. The agreement was simple. You'd be his daughter until you turned of age. Then you'd marry someone that paid the debt forward, or gave him something bigger. Your mind flashes to Alton. The tight grip, the smug grin, the land deed he kept mentioning, that new homestead law, and a need for someone with a papered name. Walking Bear watches your expression change. He picked the railroad man because the papers showed your name was clean enough to file a land claim, all legal, all stolen. Your thoughts drift to childhood moments. When you asked about your real parents, when he'd bark, "Ain't no real, just the folks who fed you." The girl in those memories, silent, obedient, always one question away from a backhand, never imagined she was a ledger entry. You look up at the sky, blue, unforgiving. Why didn't anyone say anything? Because no one wanted to know the truth, he says. Not about the railroad, not about the water, and definitely not about a girl who spoke Spanish in her sleep and had a birthmark shaped like Hidalgo's cross. That stops you. You reach beneath your collar, touch the spot just under your left shoulder blade. It's still there. Always has been. A shape no one could explain. One you learned to hide before they made you feel ashamed. They called it a devil's mark, you murmur. He nods. It's your family's crest. You don't cry, not because it doesn't hurt, but because the part of you that could be shattered already was. All that's left is resolve, and you're ready to wield it. The path narrows as the sun climbs higher, slicing light through pinyon branches and casting long shadows across the dusty ground. You follow him along a route that barely qualifies as a trail. Your legs ache from the ride, but you don't complain, because the man ahead of you, who calls himself James Whitmore, walks like he's returning to something, not just a place, a reckoning. You stop at a bend, water glistening far below, and ask what's been tightening your chest since yesterday. Were you really in the cavalry? He pauses, doesn't turn around. I wore the coat, he says. That part's true. You dismount, ground your boots in the dirt. You're not Captain Whitmore, you say, no longer a question. His silence is the answer. He steps off the trail and sits on a flat rock, facing the valley. My real name is Walking Bear, son of a Comanche woman and a White Army scout. You sit across from him. The wind pulls at your hair, throws dust into the spaces between words. He goes on. My father taught me how to read maps and lie like a senator. My mother taught me how to disappear. You remember the way he moves, how he rides without sound, how his knife never rusts, how he never looks surprised. I scouted for both sides, he says. Thought I could keep the bloodshed down. Be useful. His hands twist a scrap of buckskin as he speaks. Then Little Bighorn happened. My report warned Custer. He ignored it. Your breath stills. I was supposed to die in that canyon. Men like me don't walk away from betrayals like that. You study him. So you vanished. I took the name of a dead captain and used it like a shield. White papers, cavalry coin, forged commendations, all to move through the world long enough to find you. Your jaw tightens. And if I hadn't needed saving, I'd still be watching, he says. I made your mother a promise. I don't break those. You believe him, not because he's convincing, but because he doesn't try to be. Why me? You whisper, not entirely to him. He looks up, dark eyes tired. Because you're the only living heir to the land your family died protecting. Because you were supposed to be erased. And they almost succeeded. The wind howls between rocks like something ancient remembering. You realize something then. This man isn't just rescuing you, he's haunted by you. By what he didn't stop, by the ones he couldn't save. You look at the coat draped across his shoulders, Union blue, dusty and frayed, with a badge pinned near the heart, but underneath it, buckskin, beaded, home-stitched, two truths stitched into one man, just like you. You smell it before you see it, charred wood, long since cooled, the kind of fire that happened seasons ago but never quite let go of the land. The path opens into a clearing wrapped by cottonwoods. The grass here grows uneven. A few fence posts still stand, their tops blackened. A stone chimney rises like a grave marker, jagged and alone. This was it, he says quietly. You dismount. Your boots crunch over broken glass, over a rusted horseshoe, over what used to be someone's doorstep. The house is gone, only its bones remain. Ashes mix with dry leaves in the corners of the foundation. You step over a beam that once held up a roof, past what might have been a cradle, its side burned in a perfect curve. There's a shawl draped over a scorched nail. The fabric is faded red, embroidered at the edges. Your fingers brush it gently, and your throat tightens. It was your mother's, he says. She wore it when she carried you to market. You turn to face him. How do you know all this? He points to the far wall, what's left of it. Bullet holes, 4 of them, tight together. They came through that door, looking for water rights. You blink. What? This land sits over the deepest spring within 20 miles. The railroad needed it. Your father refused. He walks past you now, toward the creek that murmurs nearby. The water is low but steady, cutting a silver path through rock and root. Your family had legal claim through Mexican land grants, signed before the war. When the new act passed, the company sent men to renegotiate. You follow, and when they wouldn't sell, they didn't survive the winter. Your legs weaken. You sit hard on the stone hearth. Bits of ash cling to your dress. You look around, and suddenly everything shifts. The place isn't just ruins anymore. It's a memory, a blueprint. Here, a table once stood. There, a woman stirred stew while a man sharpened tools. And just beyond the threshold, a baby laughed. It hits you all at once. You've been here, not just in stories, in bone, in breath. Your fingers clutch the edge of the shawl like a lifeline. Walking Bear crouches beside the old well, runs his fingers over the stone. I buried your family here, what I could find. You close your eyes, not from grief, but from weight, the unbearable inheritance of memory. He says nothing more, just builds a small fire in the center of the old hearth. And when the night falls, you sit together among ghosts. Neither of you speak, because sometimes the land remembers louder than words. You leave before sunrise, no note, no sound, just breath and motion and the thud of your heartbeat driving your legs as you saddle the mare and ride. He doesn't try to stop you, not when you break the perimeter of the clearing, not when you reach the edge of the Badlands where the ground turns brittle and pale and the cacti huddle low against the wind. You tell yourself you're not running, you're remembering how to choose. But the truth? It feels like flight. The sun crests early, the heat pressing down by midday like a punishment. The mare stumbles over the loose rock, catching herself just before collapse. She wasn't built for this kind of terrain. You weren't either. Still, you ride. The horizon opens into raw country, red buttes, cracked soil, mesquite claws that scrape your arms as you pass too close. By the second night, your canteen runs low. You ration it, barely sip. You think about the locket, about the burned house, about a name spoken soft in the dark, not with pity, but with memory. You don't cry, not yet. The third day the trail vanishes. Your horse falters, knees shaking, foaming at the mouth. You dismount. Let her rest. But there's no water, and just ahead, movement. Low, fast. Wrong, you draw the knife. Walking Bear tucked into your saddlebag without a word. 6 inches. Worn handle, blade oiled smooth. He left it there before you left. Maybe he knew. Maybe he always knew. The mountain lion comes quiet, not like in stories. No growl, no warning, just 2 gold eyes and a blur of muscle lunging from shadow. You barely dodge. The knife slashes wild. Once, twice. You fall backward, elbow slamming hard into gravel. Blood runs warm down your wrist. The cat snarls now, circling, and you don't think. You become. You crouch low, blade forward, just like the boy on the ranch taught you when you were 10. Not a man, just a boy passing through with scars and stories of his own. You remember his words. Never run from something that eats meat. The cat lunges again. This time you land the blade in its shoulder. Not deep, but enough. It shrieks, spins, disappears into rock. You stand trembling, every breath scraped raw. Then the horse collapses behind you. You cry out, rush to her side. Her eyes are wide, unfocused. She's gone too long without water. Her sides heave. You cradle her head as she exhales her last. And something inside you breaks, but not like glass, like ground split open to make room for roots. At dawn, footsteps approach, soft, sure, familiar. You don't look up, you already know. Walking Bear crouches beside you, sees the blood, the torn sleeve, the body of the mountain lion half dragged into shadow. He says nothing at first, then, "You have your mother's courage." You nod once. Because you needed to know it wasn't just a name or a story, it was in you. And now it's yours. The mission is barely standing, adobe walls crumbling like dried cornbread, crossbeam half fallen, the old bell gone, either stolen or melted down for bullets. What's left is silence, thick as dust. You dismount stiffly, your muscles still aching from the lion fight. Every breath tastes like ash and blood. Walking Bear doesn't wait for your question. I was here. He steps through the half door like a man revisiting a sin. The chapel floor is cracked, the altar long stripped, but in the center, someone's carved words into the stone with a hunting knife. Rough, uneven, but deliberate. Isabella, Miguel, forgive me. You stare at the names. Your mother's, your father's. Your knees give, but not all the way. You sit hard on a wooden pew, brittle with termite holes. He walks slowly, stops at the side wall where a sun-faded tapestry still clings by 2 nails. A crude depiction of the Holy Family. Mary's face is half torn away. I thought I could stop them, he says. No build-up, no apology in his voice. Just the weight of someone finally laying down a truth he's carried too long. They came before dawn, railroad men, 4 of them, one dressed like a priest. The rancher was with them. You close your eyes. They said the land deed was false, that the spring belonged to the territory now. Your father demanded a hearing. One of the men laughed, then shot him before he could finish the sentence. You can see it. Not like a vision, but in the texture of the air, the way grief leaves a residue behind. Your mother ran into the chapel, he continues, with you. He walks over to the place behind the altar, kneels, brushes dirt aside, reveals the faint line of disturbed earth. I buried her here. She bled out before I could get her to the mission elder, but she made me promise. He opens a coat, pulls out a folded square of cloth. Inside, a rosary, beads cracked, silver cross bent at the tip. She asked me to give you this if I ever found you. You take it. The moment your fingers close around the beads, your breath catches, not from pain, but from knowing. These are the only pieces of her left, thread and wood and the faith she held, even as she died. I should have stayed, he says. His voice breaks, barely, but it does. I scouted ahead, thought I had time. I thought, he doesn't finish. You don't make him. Because what you feel isn't rage. It's deeper, colder. Like grief sharpened into steel, you rise slowly, walk to the name etched in stone. You press your fingers into each carved letter, one by one. Not to forgive, not yet, but to remember. He doesn't tell you where to look. He just leads you down a dry arroyo where the trees lean in tight and the wind whispers secrets to the stones. After what he said at the mission, you don't ask for more. You just follow. Eventually, he stops beside a gnarled cottonwood, split clean through by lightning. Its trunk forms a hollow, like a mouth gasping. This tree was sacred to your mother, he says. She left things here. You kneel, fingers tracing the rim of the hollow. Inside, beneath a fold of dried yucca leaves, you find a leather pouch. You pull it out, hand steady despite the pounding in your chest. The first item is a folded certificate, parchment yellowed with time. At the top, Territorio de Nuevo Mexico. Below, the names, Elena Vasquez, daughter of Isabella Ortega Vasquez and Miguel Vasquez. Born July 9th, 1858. The ink shivers in your hand, proof, not a whisper, not a memory, a record. You reach deeper into the pouch, a second paper, this one heavier. A poster, a bounty notice, your face, drawn roughly but unmistakable. Hair dark, eyes sharp. Wanted Elena Vasquez, alive, only reward, $1,000, Railroad Commissioner's Office. Santa Fe. You nearly drop it. Walking Bear doesn't flinch. They filed it the year you turned 12, he says, once they realized the land claim hadn't died with your parents. Your fingers shake. They plan to rescue you later from the rancher who bought you, bring you back under their care, rename you, control the claim through guardianship. You read the fine print. Oh, for purposes of land transition and federal integration under the Railroad Homestead Act. This wasn't about blood, you say aloud. No, he replies, it was about water and tracks. You look at him, your voice barely above breath. Why didn't they just kill me? They thought you were too young to remember, too broken to matter, and if they needed a legal heir one day, easier to pull a girl from the shadows than forge the whole deed. The letter tucked behind the certificate catches your eye. It's in your mother's handwriting. If I do not return, know this land is yours, not by inheritance, by blood. Your blood, protect it like you would your own child. They will come for it. But they cannot claim what is born in bone. You stare at the ink until the words blur. Your mother knew. She knew they'd come. She knew you would have to be the one to stay standing. You tuck the certificate into your coat, fold the bounty notice with slow precision. And for the first time since this began, you feel the shape of something in your chest that isn't fear. It's a spine, it's steel, it's yours. You sit beneath the cottonwood, papers spread like tarot cards around you. Birth certificate, bounty notice, land grant map hand-drawn, the edges marked with water lines and seasonal markers. And then, folded between the pages of the midwife's ledger, an official survey stamped with a seal, U.S. Territorial Commissioner's Office. The signature glows like a brand, Alton Pike. You read the coordinates again. They match the land beneath your feet, your land. 10,000 acres, water-rich. Sloped gently toward the valley, ideal for a switch yard and refueling depot on the new line stretching toward California. You do the math. What they paid to bury your name pales against what this dirt is worth. Walking Bear kneels across from you, silent. You hold up the ledger. She kept this? She buried it after the fire. Hid it where only a Comanche would think to look. You glance down. The midwife's entries are neat, careful, written in both Spanish and English. Elena Vasquez, female, born healthy. Witnessed by Miguel V., Maria C., and Padre Efrain. Then one final note, smudged but legible. Child marked by Cross of Hidalgo, heir by bloodline to original grant number 274 BB, signed 1836. You whisper the number like it might summon thunder. 274B. Walking Bear nods. The spring that runs beneath your family's land was sacred to local tribes even before your people arrived. When the Americans took control, they claimed all water rights fell under their new laws. But the grant predates the war. You say? It does, and the treaty signed in 1848 said those grants would be honored. You stared down at your own name. All this time they told you that you were nobody. A girl bought cheap, renamed for ease, good for labor, and silence. But you were never a pawn. You were the prize. It hits you slowly. The men in that saloon weren't just celebrating a marriage. They were finalizing a land theft. The groom, Alton Pike never wanted a wife. He wanted a paper trail, a legal foothold, and they almost got it, until a man with a broken coat and your mother's locket showed up. You rise, not just to stand, to claim. Because your mother didn't die trying to protect land. She died trying to protect you. The wind dies just before dusk. You both sit by the fire, flames low, cicadas murmuring in the grass. He sharpens his knife slowly, methodically, not as preparation, but as memory. You hold the rosary now, the one your mother clutched, as she bled out on Mission Stone. Its beads tap gently against your wrist. He glances at it, then at you. "I didn't come for gold," he says. "Didn't come for justice, either." You wait. He sets the knife down on a flat stone, wipes the blade clean. "I came because she saved my life when no one else would." You nod once. "You told me." But his voice shifts. "No, you don't understand." He stares into the fire as if it could conjure the past. "I was 19, deserted the war after they torched a Comanche camp in Oklahoma, burned women alive. I couldn't wear the coat after that. Didn't matter which color." He swallows. "They hunted me. Both sides. Said I was a traitor, a savage. I crawled into the Guadalupe Hills with a fever and a bullet in my leg." You listen, heart slowing. "And she found me." He looks up now, eyes raw, not from tears but from memory. "She didn't ask who I'd killed. She didn't flinch at my face. She boiled cactus and bathed my wounds with hands that didn't shake." He presses thumb to forefinger, "like this, with salt and cotton." You can picture it, a woman with steady breath kneeling over a stranger while the world burned outside. "She sang to me," he says, voice breaking just slightly, "called me Hijo, gave me your father's coat to wear when I left, said, 'If you find my daughter one day, tell her I forgave the fire, but not the silence.'" You clutch the rosary tighter. "And that's why you came." He nods. "Not to save you, but to carry her voice forward." He reaches into his coat, pulls out a strip of blue cloth, your father's sash, faded from sun and time. "She said your name meant light, not the kind that blinds, the kind that stays." You take it, not because you know what to do with it yet, but because something sacred just passed from one soul to another. And now, as night settles and the fire grows still, you begin to understand this journey, this man, this tangled, violent unraveling of lies. It was never about vengeance. It was about return. They come at dawn, dust first, rising in a long line like smoke over the canyon rim. Then silhouettes, 6 riders, slow and deliberate. At the front, Alton Pike, the man who tried to marry you with someone else's name. Beside him rides a deputy marshal, hat low, badge gleaming in the sun. Behind them, 4 others. Suits too clean for the trail. Railroad men by the look of them. You'd recognize their posture anywhere. Men used to ownership. Walking Bear sees them before you do. He doesn't speak, just rises, dusts off his coat, and tightens the leather ties on his knife sheath. You stand too. Your body knows before your mind catches up. This is the reckoning. They stop 20 paces out. Alton dismounts first. His smile hasn't changed. "Afternoon, Elena." He says your name like he earned the right to it. The deputy calls out, voice flat. "We've got legal claim to retrieve the girl known as Margaret Sinclair, under bounty terms authorized by the Santa Fe Commissioner's office." Walking Bear steps forward. "She's not Margaret." "She signed the license," Alton snaps. "We got it witnessed." "No, you say, stepping beside Walking Bear. "I signed it under a false name, given to me by a man who bought me as a child. I've got my birth certificate, my parents' land deed. The grant predates the Homestead Act. The railroad men shift uneasily, but the deputy reaches for his sidearm. "All the same, miss, you'll need to come with us. We can sort facts in court." Walking Bear shrugs off his coat. What's underneath isn't blue anymore, it's buckskin, marked with hand-stitched symbols, Comanche lines of mourning and honor, and around his waist, his mother's knife. "You come any closer," he says, "you'll meet the man behind the name, not the one you thought you could outright." Alton scoffs, turns to you. "You really think this half-breed can protect you?" And that's when you move. You step in front of Walking Bear. "You think I need protecting?" Your voice doesn't waver. Alton sneers. "You're just a girl raised in a pig pen." You pull the rosary from your pocket, the one soaked in your mother's last breath. "I'm the daughter of Isabella Ortega Vasquez, born on treaty-protected land, and I'm done being bought." The deputy hesitates. Then the man to his right draws. Everything blurs. Walking Bear moves like lightning, shoulder low, knife forward. Gunfire cracks once, twice. You don't flinch. Because you've already pulled your own weapon, your mother's derringer, hidden in your skirt folds since the mission. One shot meant for this. Alton reaches for his belt. And you fire. The bullet catches his thigh. He drops to one knee, howling. The deputy draws but stops cold when Walking Bear's blade brushes his throat. "Back," he says. The men retreat, not from fear, from certainty. You're not theirs anymore, and you never were. The canyon is quiet now. The railroad men are gone, retreating with dust on their boots and shame in their silence. Alton lies tied at the hands, moaning behind a boulder, a bloodied rag binding his leg. The deputy left with a warning and no warrant. You sit near the spring, the real source, the one your father marked on his map with a thumbprint and your mother circled in ink. Walking Bear returns from the ridge, breath steady, step slow. He hands you a folded document. You open it. At the top, Territorial Registry Reconsideration, Land Claim 274B. At the bottom, a signature you never thought you'd see on your side. Withdrawal of Claim A, Pike, per conflict of interest and misfiled identity. "How did you get this?" you whisper. "Your name," he says softly. Once it echoed through enough mouths, even the railmen knew it couldn't stay buried. He crouches, places a stone on the corner of the document so the wind doesn't carry it. "They'll send others," you say. "They'll find a fence," he replies, "and a woman who remembers." You look around. The ruins remain, but so does the spring, and so do you. You gather the documents, the certificate, the grant copy. You kneel by the hearthstone and bury a copy beneath it, wrapped in oilskin, so the land will remember too. Walking Bear sets your mother's shawl across a beam of what once was the door. It flutters faintly, red and brave. You turn to him. "What now?" He considers. "There's a town nearby, no more than 20 souls. They could use someone to teach the children." You raise an eyebrow. He shrugs. "And I know a blacksmith with a stubborn mule who could use a hand." You laugh. A real one this time. It catches you by surprise. The sound of it softens something between you both. You stand. "You'll stay?" you ask. He doesn't answer, but he doesn't walk away. You turn back toward the spring, the rosary around your neck, your father's sash tied at your waist, and you whisper your name aloud, one last time, not to remind yourself, but to tell the land. Elena Vasquez. The wind is kind that morning. You stir the ashes of the fire with the toe of your boot, letting the last orange embers crumble to white. The shawl your mother wore dances softly in the doorway behind you. The sky is pale and open. You stand barefoot, dress hitched just above your ankles, and carry the wedding veil, the one they tried to wrap around your throat like a contract. You drape it across the fire pit. Then you light it. The lace curls, blackens, vanishes. No smoke chokes you this time. No scent of someone else's fear. Just the gentle hush of fabric dissolving into morning air. Walking Bear watches from a distance, arms folded. He doesn't speak. This is yours. All of it, the land, the name, the silence that once held you captive, now split wide and hollow, ready to be filled with something you choose. You gather your saddlebag, tuck the documents inside with care, press the locket close to your chest, and then, just before mounting, you pause. There's no hurry, no chase behind you now. The road ahead is rough, maybe unmarked, but it's yours. When you ride out, the sun brushes gold across your shoulders, and the wind carries only your name, Elena Vasquez. She was never meant to disappear. She was always meant to rise.